I use she, her, and hers pronouns, and I'm the Associate Director of the Kaleo Center for Faith, Justice, and Social Transformation. And it's such a pleasure to be with you this morning. Thank you for the cheers. I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Kaleo Center and what we do. I'm going to invite you to make an investment in collective resourcing, otherwise known as I will ask you for money. And then I have the immense pleasure of introducing Reverend Karen Hutt, who is just one of my favorite people on the planet. For real. So, I was saying as we were coming in, I feel so lucky that my job is to introduce brilliant people who I love so that we can all experience a conversation together. There's just such a deep joy in that. And it wouldn't be possible if you weren't all here. So really, thank you for being a part of this. Housekeeping. Please eat bagels and get coffee and oranges and get up when you need to and help yourself to what you need. Even though we are in chairs looking at the center of the room, please do what you need for your body and know that that is welcome here. There are bathrooms just outside and to the right. There's a single stall gender-neutral bathroom, and then there are group gendered bathrooms to the left. If you need anything and it's not obvious, ask me, ask Ashley Harness, who's on the board of directors of Kaleo Center, and who's the minister at Lyndale UCC, which is housed here in this building. So thank you so much to Lyndale and to Springhouse Ministry Center for hosting us today. What else? Oh, if you did not get a chance to sign in, we would love it if you were signed in. It just helps us to know who's here and how we might be able to better engage folks who want to be part of these conversations. So thank you for that. So Kaleo Center, what do we do? Kaleo Center has been around for we're working on 10 years now. And we exist in the broadest sense to build collective liberation, primarily through dismantling white supremacy and other forms of intersecting oppression. There are a lot of ideas on how one could do that in the world, and we need all of them, so yay. But really, the way we do that at Kaleo is we train leaders in diverse faith communities across faith traditions in the practices of social transformation and community organizing. We work as community organizers and convene and mobilize groups of folks across diverse faith traditions in solidarity with frontline struggles for liberation. And we work nationally to really bring together and convene an overall field of social transformation in the context of faith leadership and in the context of faith communities. So sometimes that comes out more clearly than it does other times, but it's really where is the intersection of different faith traditions and action on the ground in solidarity towards justice. And the place where we realized Kaleo needs to live is in building the skills for people to be faith leaders towards justice, and really then in building an infrastructure of solidarity across our communities. Does that make some sense? It's like a lot of big words that really means how, in the ways that are most true in our hearts, can we learn to practice solidarity as an action, and how can our faith and spiritual traditions be part of that knowing and that doing? So I think you can see why I'm so thrilled to be able to be part of this work. And now's the part where I ask you for money, so get ready. So much of what I do, and the reason I'm at Kaleo, and so much of what Kaleo does, is based in a frame of reparations, of really knowing that there are wounds to the native people of this land, and now is the time when I recognize that we are on Dakota land, that we are in the territory of the Ojibwe, that we are in a place that has been stewarded and that continues to be stewarded by Native people. And as a non-Native person, I am the direct recipient of that history and of that gift. And that that I am in relationship to that, and I am in relationship to the attempted genocide that people who look like me have tried to to affect in the world, right? I'm like a little struggling with how to say this, but like we're in this relationship of debt and tension and repair, but also of glorious transformation, I think, when we can look honestly at repair. And that's not, and then in our history, in the history of being somebody who lives in this place, the wounds of anti-Black oppression, of oppression specifically targeted against the bodies and beings and histories and cultures of people of color. And also the immense ways that Black folks and Native folks and folks of color have refused to stop existing. And as a Jewish person who passes as white in the world, that sense of refusing to stop exist is really alive in me right now. And I feel in complex ways connected in a way that isn't the same, it's very different, but connected to that sense of what it means to say, whether through our own lives or otherwise, we will outlive them. And the reason I said all of that is because I work in a frame of reparations and of solidarity with frontline movements. I have to really ask myself, can I, with integrity, look all of you in the eye and ask you to give money to Kaleo Center? And the reason I can is because of the magic that happens in these rooms. Because of the magic that happened last night when I was with Terry and Dana with the Sacred Solidarity Network, which is a group of over a dozen congregations from different faith traditions working together to make action plans to start dismantling white supremacy in their own religious practice and then out in the world through action. And it's because you all have put such beautiful trust in this organization by showing up. And the best way I know to honor that trust is to ask you very seriously to become a part of what we are doing. And I know that when I do that, I honor each of you. So there is an envelope on your seat. It might be beneath your cute little tushy. And I'm going to ask you to take it out. Now, we live under a system, often known as capitalism, that really messes up our access to resources and does some violent and terrible things to people. So if you are someone who, for whatever reason, isn't in a place where giving money feels like the right thing, yeah. But if you're somebody who has resources to share, and this feels meaningful to you, I want you to make a gift today, so that we can keep coming together and so that we can keep doing this work. And you can do that by making a one-time gift of any amount. And you can do that by becoming a sustaining member, by pledging to make a recurring gift every month. And what that means is, when it's time to take really bold risks for justice, we don't have to check with our funders because we are accountable to all of you. And it is a magnificent thing. So thank you for listening. If you're going to make a gift, there is a basket back there. You can do it at the end. We have time together. But I really appreciate having the chance to talk to you from my heart about why this matters to me. And with that, Reverend Karen Hutt is awesome. You just are. And she's going to tell you a little bit more about herself and lead us in some interactive time together. There's one more piece of housekeeping I almost forgot. In a former life, I was a civil rights attorney, and I did a lot of election protection work. And in a strange confluence of events that is separate from my work here at Kaleo, I need to testify at the Campaign Finance Board. It's why I'm in grown-up drag. And so I will have to scurry out because I didn't have a lot of choices about the time. So again, Ashley from our board will be here to host you and to help steward us through this moment. Anything I'm forgetting? Do a little dance? No, I think with that, it's time for Reverend Karen Hutt. Yay!
Hi. Just a little bit about my job, what I do now. I'm the Vice President of Student Formation, Vocation, Experience in the Arts at United Theological Seminary. I've been there about 6 months. Prior to that time, I worked at the University of Minnesota Medical Center, where I was a CPE, Clinical Pastoral Education Supervisor and Chaplain. And prior to that time, I've done a million other things. But that's my tenure in Minnesota, which has been all of 4 years. So I've learned how to do a number of things that I didn't think I knew how to do. Like say hi to people all the time, coming from the East Coast, that's a new thing, you know, and nodding lots of times. I'm not saying exactly what I mean, but nodding. I'm learning the culture, getting better, takes time. I still drive like a maniac from Boston that I am. So, thank you for having me today. This is about chaplaincy, and the subject was chosen, I think, because of what I've done for so long, and I folded into that. But before I start, I just want to see how many chaplains are in the house. Okay, 1, 2, 3, very good. Any wannabe chaplains in the house? Ah, even more, okay. Any retired chaplains in the house? 2, right there, all right, great. So you can have a long life in chaplaincy and retire someday. Thank you for being the model of that, that's great. I'm going to talk for a little while about some ideas, and then we're going to actually create a new program. I'm going to speak publicly about an idea that I haven't spoken publicly about, and it feels like we could all work together to build something right here in this room today, because that's what Kaleo is about. So, let's think a little bit about our conscious selves. Conscious and deliberate acts of caring are a unique human attribute. The need to care and to be cared for is essential to the survival of all human groups. We create communities, cultural norms, ethical frameworks, social constructs, and beliefs that help guide our choices to make our lives meaningful and understandable. We make commitments, form families, and care for its members by nurturing their growth. We develop shared interests and identities with other families, seeking to sustain our well-being, our survival as communities, our flourishing as a group. Yet when we are baffled, suffering, scared, fearful, or engulfed in physical pain or moral dilemmas, we have traditionally sought care from religious and spiritual institutions. It is here that we bring the full palette of our human spirituality to be acknowledged and addressed, seeking love and authentic relationships. We bring our desires for forgiveness, for mercy, and autonomy. We bring our claims of faith to help us make meaning in the midst of limited and fragile security, the limited and fragile security of a human life. We bring our need for hope and vision to satisfy the self-consciousness of our finitude. We want to be ethical and honest, humble and grateful in a world where justice is fleeting and duplicity and evil are gratuitously on display. We bring our broken, ill-formed, halting questions and curiosities to religion and spiritual sources to be tended to be laid bare and cared for. Within the monotheistic traditions of Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, the caring arts of healing, reconciling, guiding, and sustaining those in distress or crisis have been the work of those both designated and trained as ministers, imams, and rabbis. Their job has been to hold a safe place for these vast and unpredictable spiritual needs and circumstances. These caregivers must function in their traditions and provide receptivity, relatedness, and focused presence that also invites ambiguity, transcendence, mystery, and the potential of transformation. This is the work of the pastoral spiritual caregivers. It's also the work of chaplains. Now, the figure of the chaplain in the Western world has always been an ambiguous figure. A minister whose duties lie away from the church, authority, or the demands of a congregation. In secular institutions such as hospitals, prisons, and the military, the chaplain's role remains ambiguous since, unlike doctors and guards or soldiers, the chaplain is an explicit broker between the sacred and the secular. The role of the chaplain and the social perception of chaplaincy in America have both changed significantly since World War II. In the mid-20th century, patients, inmates, and soldiers imagined that chaplains had specific ministerial resources that were specific to each denomination, such that Catholic priests, for example, could offer services that no other denomination's chaplain could. Today, however, chaplaincy is far more generalized and less identified with any particular religion or spiritual tradition. Today's chaplains practice a ministry of presence, a stripped-down form of witness, to use a Christian term. That is a suffering with those seeking spiritual guidance. Chaplains are trained to de-emphasize their individual religious identities so that they can provide a non-imposing, non-coercive presence, letting care seekers take the lead in terms of any religious specificity. At its core, chaplaincy is about taking the sacred out of the church, mosque or synagogue, or the temple, and to bring it to wherever the people are, whatever the circumstances. No matter where people are encountered, a chaplain meets them where they are physically, spiritually, and offers support. A listening ear, a non-judgmental listening ear. They bring a sense of the sacred, of wonder and awe and curiosity. They address particular needs to assist care seekers in meaning-making and reflective processes during incarceration, on the Navy ship, and in the treatment program, in the hospital room, and on college campuses. In all of these endeavors, chaplains provide the non-religious and the religious a rich tableau of authentic caring. Now, the chaplain's goal is to provide a healthy relationship, to be in a healthy relationship with the care seeker within a matter of minutes, in which this person can bring all of him or herself and present themselves vulnerable in front of someone else. The chaplain's job is to create and hold a space for this to occur, to hold a container within 5 minutes of walking into a room or a prison cell where someone else is suffering. It is the work of the chaplain to be available, to be present for people as they face their fears. Yet an interesting trend is emerging. Many recent seminarians entering the ministry are well aware that they may need to be considered bivocational. So all this talk about chaplaincy and ministry and the wonderful things that it provides is actually logistically a potential for many people going into ministry these days because of the fewer opportunities for full-time ministry in a number of congregations. Now, according to research on seminarians, 25% of these folks
I'm spiritual but not religious, but I'm trapped in my home. Kept having the image of freelance spiritual friend or chaplain or so just a freelance out in the community.
Well, that perfect segue to what I'm about ready to do. We're going to do together. Okay, I'm going to walk away from the mic, but you can all hear me, so that's fine. Here's this idea I have. I'm going to give you the basic frame of it, and then I want you to fill in the blank. And this is a real idea of something I really want to do, because I think it could work, and it could change chaplaincy in the Twin Cities. And since we're going to St. Paul, I'm just going to use St. Paul, since that's where the school is moving. Yeah?
Fill me in. The UTS is moving?
Oh. Yeah, we sold the property. Yeah, sold it a couple months ago to a beautiful charter school, Global Academy, and it's an immigrant school with beautiful kids from largely East Africa who will be taking over the building. So children will be there now, from kindergarten to 8th graders.
And you want to say where we're moving to?
We're moving to 767
Eustace.
Street in St. Paul.
Where's that? Think about the egg and I, the building right behind where the egg and I is.
Everybody knows the egg and I is like a
Two
you say egg and I, everybody goes, yeah, I know that.
Two
And I should,
280.
I should introduce three of my colleagues that are here today. Max is a student and also works at the school. Cindy Beth is director of the Intersection, our arts program. And Terry is the director of church and alumni relations. So these people are all in the mix there at United, and many of you have got some relationship to it. So here's the idea. They've all heard my craziness, so I'll just stop here. But here's UTS. We have space. We have a little bit of money, probably. So always put money on everything, right? And we have, very soon, we're going to have a CPE program at the school. So I can't say much more about that because where the site will be is going to blow everybody's mind. It's going to be one big site that we're going to have. But that is in the works. So we have CPE. We have interns, which are students that are interested in chaplaincy. Chaplain students. I have terrible handwriting, so bear with me. And we have a vision. And we have a mission. And we have some values. Okay, we'll get to those a little later. We also have the city of St. Paul. And I want you to think about the city. What are some of the institutions in the city?
Schools.
Schools, okay.
Museums.
What else?
Museums.
Museums, okay.
Eco Lab.
Huh? Capitol. Let's just eliminate church. I want to eliminate all churches. County. Ramsey County.
Eco Lab. Major employer.
Yeah, 3M Metron. 7 streets.
Eco Lab. Who?
3M Metron.
Are they headquartered in St. Paul?
Yeah,
Parks.
Minnesota Public Radio.
Parks and Recreation.
Libraries.
Boys and Girls Clubs.
When you said the county, are you talking about like county offices? Who said
Department of
county?
Human Services, for example.
Department of Human Services, okay.
Like a lot of the county management is in St. Paul.
Okay,
Department of Corrections is over there.
okay,
History theater.
okay.
Regional Courthouse.
Parks.
Penumbra.
Okay. I don't want to go to specific arts groups, but just say there's plenty of arts groups, okay. But I want to talk about the infrastructure of the city. Now, obviously, the nonprofits is part of the infrastructure of the city, but what are some of the other things that everybody has to go to? Parks. Grocery store. Okay, so I'm just going to put Because my daughter is 3 and she can spell that now.
Transit.
Huh?
Transit.
Transit, thank you. These are the things I'm looking for. Public transit.
Yeah, a lot of restaurants
Okay.
and small business
Transit,
owners.
restaurants. Okay. So this is the light rail for you guys, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And the buses. Okay. And they intersect pretty regularly with one another, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
St. Paul Police Department?
Police department, thank you.
We also have all of the neighborhood associations.
Okay. Okay. And anything else?
We have a lot of hospitals over there.
Okay, forget hospitals.
Laundromats.
Laundromats, all right.
It's a winner.
Sorry. All right. What else?
Shops.
Barbershops, thank you. And if you got a barbershop, you got to have a beauty shop. Nice. Barber and beauty.
Food shelves.
What?
Food shelves.
Food shelves are connected to what? Generally? Churches. Let's leave churches out for a minute,
So
okay?
we got stadiums and athletics.
Stadiums, like what's the new thing?
Allianz Field.
Yes.
United.
Okay, so sports places.
Yeah, sports arenas.
Bars.
The U of M is over here.
Yeah, universities.
East Bank, U of M, that's mostly the hospital, right? And then the school.
No, agriculture.
And the school.
Social workers over there.
Okay, I'm gonna leave them out for a minute.
Hamlin and McAllister.
Bars and clubs, thank you. Looking for some other places. The reason I'm leaving some places out because they already have certain things. But I'm just talking about the infrastructure of the city. Where else do we go, some of us that are older all the time? We go to the Y, yeah.
And JCC.
Yeah.
YMCA, the JCC. Where else do we go? What's your day? Where are you going to go today to run errands? Where else are you going to go?
Banks.
Banks, yeah. Okay. Anybody ever go to that bank on Lake Street?
Yeah.
U.S. Bank on Lake Street?
Yeah.
That's a busy bank, isn't it?
Oh, it's hard to get your money there.
It
takes a long time.
It takes a long time, but there's that big area right
Yeah.
there. Yeah, right. U.S. Bank. Okay.
You have also all those centers for like unemployment and jobs.
Okay. Job force, workforce development.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you.
Pawn shops.
Oh,
Libraries and museums.
I got those.
Liquor stores.
Liquor stores.
Gas stations.
Gas stations. All right, now we're talking about our real everyday life. I'm going to the liquor store. I'm going to get some gas.
Walgreens, your pharmacies, those kind of places.
Okay, all right. We got a lot here. Okay. So, do you see yourself in this daily movement of activities, things? Yeah. Okay. The other place, where do we stand in line still? Especially this time of year. With packages.
Post office.
Hey, post office. All right. You know how long that line can be sometimes?
Oh.
It's really awful.
I used to go to the airport so everybody else figured that out.
The airport?
We do
Well,
have.
yeah.
It's up
Okay,
in
it's
the
not
airport.
Okay. Are there hurting people in these places?
Yep.
Every day.
Every day. There's hurting people in these places. Are there chaplains in any of these places? Where?
Airport.
Okay, airport. Have you ever tried to find an airport chaplain? Every airport I've ever been into, I've tried to find an airport chaplain. Have you ever found him?
I found it once, but I walked past it accidentally.
No, not the chapel. You can find the chapel, but the chaplain. Nowhere to be seen.
The other thing is, if you don't have a ticket, you can't get to over half of what's going on in there.
Thank you. In the old days, you could.
Yeah, I used to wander around all the time. Now,
Right.
unless you have a ticket, you can't get past the guard.
Exactly, exactly. Airport chaplains I've been, I think I've 23 airports I've been in, and every airport I go into, I look for the chaplain. It's like a puzzle. It's like a game. Where's Waldo? I'm looking for the chaplain. Where's the chaplain? And I can't find him or her at all. They're not to be found. So here's a whole bunch of other places that we could have chaplaincy, is what I'm trying to say right here. So here's my idea. UTS serves as the hub for putting chaplains in these kinds of places. And I'm going to circle a few places that I'm thinking about. I'm going to circle these companies because there's an interest and a need for what's known as corporate chaplains. Anybody know about corporate chaplains of America?
Yes.
Marketplace Chaplains of America? Okay, and who runs those kind of organizations? These are for-profit chaplain organizations, mostly in the Southwest or in the Southeast, so they're in the South. I'm not being biased, but there is a certain proclivity to certain kinds of theology. I'm also looking at the Department of Human Services. You ever go to the public aid office? How many people sat in the public aid office all day for any reason? Okay, hey, right here, getting it too. Okay, so public aid, and people sitting there all day long waiting to see a worker, caseworker. Okay, another public place that doesn't have. Another place. Transit, yeah, that's right, light rail. I talked to a guy who works on the light rail, and I said to him, you know everybody. He said, oh man, I could tell you, he was a cop, a light rail cop. My daughter got into some trouble with the light rail cops, she and her friends, so I'm trying to negotiate this situation. And then I started talking to them after we solved everything. And I said, you see people along here all the time? He says, I know everybody. He says, I know that this one has cancer and sits there all day. I know that this one has lost their kid and they're waiting for them to come home. That's why she sits at the bus stop. I mean, he had amazing stories. He says, but I don't know what to do with these people. I ain't no minister. I ain't no cop. I ain't no social worker. I wish somebody would come and talk to them. Okay? So the light rail. And let's think about teachers at 3 o'clock or 3:15 at a high school. You think they'd like to have somebody to unload with? Anybody been a teacher here? 3:15. That's either drinking time, drug time for a lot of teachers, substance abuse problems with teachers and nurses, all kinds of service providers and people that are isolated in classrooms all day with rotations of teenagers, enough to drive anybody to their wits' ends on certain days. What are some?
How about police?
Police have chaplains of their own, but they're often volunteer. So that's a whole other world unto itself. And same thing with firefighters. Firefighters and police have their own history of chaplaincy. But those are the only two city agencies that have chaplains, firefighters and police. Not the ambulance workers, okay, but firefighters and police.
The public works people, they often experience horrible things, like when a bridge collapses or when there's an accident at a construction site. Horrible. They don't have anybody to talk to.
Public works, but construction sites. This is also part of the corporate world because that's owned by somebody. Construction sites are filled with people stressed out. Yeah.
You know, I worked in people who work in the child abuse, social services, rape crisis, domestic abuse, those service providers oftentimes need spiritual solace and help.
Abuse service providers, put them all there in a big category. What about the laundromat? The laundry. This Friday, I started this thing a couple weeks ago called Ministry to Go. And I asked students, you want to come do chaplaincy? Because we got all these students who want to be chaplains. I said, well, let's go to laundromat. I'm going to take some quarters, I'm going to take some dryer sheets and soap in case people we run into need it. And we made a sign that says, need to talk, here to listen, no strings, just your friendly neighborhood chaplain. On a sign on a table, we'll be at University right in Midway on Friday morning around 10 o'clock, just sitting there, see if somebody wants to talk, because we're there. So anyway, my whole point here is there are millions of places that we could be available to folks who are in need.
Public housing. Public housing.
Public housing? Absolutely. Great idea. Public housing, what little is left of it. Is coming from Chicago, watching them knock down whole blocks and blocks of public housing. Unbelievable. Any other places that strike you that aren't here? Senior housing, assisted living, yes. Do you know that most assisted living places don't have chaplains? Most nursing homes don't have chaplains. Absolutely none. The fancy ones do. Episcopal Homes has one. The ones that have money do. But the majority of them don't have money because why don't they have chaplains there, you think?
They just call the local guy and they don't have to pay them.
There's no money involved, right? And do they call the local guy? No, by and large not. Some local guy, usually guy, will come along, and it's usually about, he's been doing it for about 80 years, and comes by and does mass, and that's it. That's it. So what I'm trying to say is there's this huge world of chaplaincy that no one has tapped into. So what if we got all the rich corporations, get these three guys here, to give money to start a fund where we hire chaplains through UTS. And those chaplains are under our auspices. Now, don't repeat this and say that this is a plan, okay, please. Because this isn't. This is an idea. But I just need to be public with it because I got 5 great ideas from you guys. Here, but we actually put chaplains in all of these places that are trained, that have done all their CPE, that have their MDiv, that have their certification, that have been passed by us. Because we've got an interreligious chaplaincy program that has depth and experience and knows how to supervise chaplains. And we send them out to work in real jobs. So we get the city of St. Paul to invest a couple $1 million. We get some foundations to invest a couple $1 million for a 5-year demonstration project. Most demonstration projects, see, that's the great thing about being 60. I've been through all the 1 year, 6 months, I'll give you $5,000, you see what happens, come back, ain't nothing happened. We're talking about a 5-year demonstration project where you can actually see the impact of having chaplains who are also resources. And all those things, the interpreter, the multi-faith person, the prophetic witness, all of that will happen in these kinds of settings. We have no idea what the potential of something like this would be. We have no idea. But we get the corporations to kick in a couple million, the city to kick in a couple million. Then you get a couple million from foundations. We have 6 million to say for even numbers. You hire 30 chaplains, and you call it this. You call it St. Paul Cares. St. Paul cares about you. You, with your 4 kids sitting here in a public aid office and somebody's checking on you. Hey, can I help with the kids? You need some coffee. And these people will be trained to have that nuanced look about things, to be able to find out ways to connect with people quickly and authentically without all of the fluff and fervor of having a little sign that says, "Hi, I'm the chaplain. I'm coming to see you. You're on my list today," like we are in the hospital or prison. But these are people that can do down and dirty work to get right there. They'd be assigned to be at all the marches. We'd have a chaplain that would be just a justice, march, demo chaplain. Trained to know how to check in on people. And also how to diffuse situations like you have everybody. Because that's the other thing chaplains can do. Chaplains can bring down the volume on a whole lot of bullshit. That's something we're good at. Okay? So there are all of these possibilities. Why hasn't this happened?
Imagination.
Okay? What else?
So, what I've been thinking about in regards to my particular call, because I do feel a call to something like chaplaincy. And honestly, I think we're going to have coffee about some stuff after this. But chaplain as parish priest, because the parish model isn't, okay, so we're going to build a church and we're going to want to make sure everybody gets in, and it's only sustainable if we get enough people and they're giving money. The parish model is, here's this group of people. They're in this place. They need to be cared for. Here, go.
Right.
The model is here, go, let's care for the people, not, all right, so get a bunch of people in there, get an organization together, get the money together to care for the people. It's, we care for the people, we'll figure out the money to pay the person who cares for the people. But the priority is we care for the people, we make sure that there's somebody there. As a Presbyterian, I'm thinking here of the Church of Scotland, who has a commitment to make sure that there is a pastor in every single Scottish community.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. Scotland, Wales, New Zealand, and Australia Those are my study points for all of this. They have a whole thing called a professional chaplain. I took a group of 2 students, not a group, we don't have a lot of students like I'm saying, but we will eventually. I took 2 students to the courthouse in Ramsey County. It was their first day wearing collars. I said, put on your collars, have that authority, walk around like you got that, you know. I'm a pastor, dude, what's up? You know, I'm correct. And we had on our collars, and we went in, we sat in the courtroom watching cases. I just wanted them to observe. I said, now what would you say to that person when they came out of the courtroom after what you saw just happened? And then we talked about it. We went out to lunch, we talked about it. Next time we go back, we're going to try to set up a table at eviction court. And I made some friends with dispute resolution people, and they got a little table, so we're figuring out how to create community with other care providers. And they loved to have us there. The judge saw me, I went on my own just doing recon before I took students in, and the judge finally said to me, you keep coming to court, but you're not saying it, you're not testifying. I said, I'm not, just observing. He says, it's good you're here. I was shocked. He was a rather gruff judge watching him. But I was shocked. He said, I'm glad you're here. In Australia, the judge will ask the chaplain who's assigned to every courthouse, what do you think about this sentencing, chaplain?
Ooh.
Wow.
I got the research. It's all documented. Scientific research. A lot of great research here about it. In Wales, they have a professional listener program. That's what they're called, professional listeners. And they're in every little hamlet or whatever they call them there. Yeah.
So my question is, I mean, you asked the question which was, why do we not have chaplains in those
Yeah.
spaces? And I wonder if it's because they're secular spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, so I work at a school, I directly work at a school, and that's, I mean, I feel like I do so much of that role. And I feel called to do that role in a lot of ways, but I'm not religious. And so I wonder about, not that I also believe that in order to be able to do chaplaincy well, you need to understand people and their beliefs. And so understanding their religious beliefs and various faith traditions seems like an important piece of that work. But I wonder if there's a way to come to chaplaincy that isn't through a religion.
Oh, I agree. I think that's what the Europeans and the other people in the UK have done. They're not always doing it through a religious lens, because they're much more secularized. They're what we will be being in 20 years when we let go of a lot of the trappings. I think that this was what it says that we don't have to be this super religious person. But in the context of the culture that we're in right now, I think we have to use the word chaplain in order to get in. But how many of us who've been chaplains walk into a room and say, okay, let's do some theological deconstruction? That's like the last thing. I don't know how many, I can count on my hand some weeks how many theological conversations I've had with people. It's about meaning and purpose. It's about meaning and purpose. How do you find meaning and purpose in your life? Maybe religion is one thing, but I know for me, I'm a humanist, okay? So it's not necessarily through God that I find meaning and purpose. It's through humans and human activity. Yeah.
I feel like there is a nonprofit in the city. It's called City House, and it's a virtual house that has spiritual listeners that are trained.
I'm meeting with Rolf tomorrow for breakfast.
Oh, we were just saying that would be perfect.
Rolf,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
He's great.
So we are trained to go into the prisons and we go in and
Yeah.
we say, we're not trying to convince you of a religion, we are listening to your sacred story. And we sit and listen.
So you're one of them?
Yes.
Two of them. Great. I want you to join this project. That's why I'm meeting with Rolf. Explore this idea.
This is so
That's
should be
when I met him.
Yeah.
I met him in church, and I heard him speak in church because we gave money to your organization from my church.
It's
It's what you do,
Yeah, it's what we do.
right? And I want to expand it, but I also want people to work because chaplains will not have jobs. We have 30 students that want to be chaplains, but do you know how often there are chaplain positions open in a hospital? Never! Until these guys retire. I think I've seen 4 openings for chaplains in 10 years in all, and I've worked in 7 hospitals. Yeah.
I was thinking too about the drug court model. I don't know if you're familiar with that. The drug courts, have been operational now in Minnesota, but they have, that whole different way of dealing with chronic drug offenders and the public defender and the prosecutor and the social worker and an employment person and a chaplain would just really round that out.
Yeah.
And they're successful because of the relationships that are developed between the drug offender and the judge often, but another caring person.
Yeah. You can drop us in anything, yeah.
So to add to your list would be shelters.
Shelters, absolutely.
So
Shelters
Southern,
rarely have a
high
chaplain.
ground, things like that, yeah.
Great, great. Yes.
I'm thinking like part of that lack of having chaplains in these spaces that you've listed is just like understanding of interconnectedness in humans generally. I think there's, especially in like very urban areas, the disconnect between like self and environment and like all those intricacies, that there is like a universal spirituality in those connections generally. And so if you're thinking of anything related to, I call myself like a cultural capitalist. But I think like when I think of anything faith-based, I naturally go to like systems and like brick and mortar spaces. And so the idea that like your spirit and your faith are all interconnected in more so human interactions is not something that like comes to the forefront when I think of like chaplains. And so I think that's an interesting, I think this conversation is interesting because if you think of caregiving and listening, some of the things we've talked about today, these are essential in just human interactions. And so that can be a huge...
Exactly, it's so common sense. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to follow up on that person who said that those are secular spaces. And I think if I was approached in one of those spaces, I would be very resistant. What are you trying to convert me to? What beliefs are you going to try and force on me? And are you going to give me the Book of Mormon? You know, I'd be really thrown.
Depends on how you look, too. How you act. And what you come with. Now, I remember when I worked in a prison the first time, there's a little blue bag you're supposed to carry as a chaplain. The chaplain bag. So I carried the bag because that's what they told me to do. And I was doing what I was told because that's what you do when you work in the prison. You do what you're told. But every time I walk by, the guys, because they're all in big bars and I'm walking on this yellow line. I'm supposed to walk, right? But the guys would just do like this when I walk by. That's the only thing they can do to close the doors and turn their back. That's closing the door. And I got rid of the bag. I realized that wasn't helping. And then I started having a conversation.
Bible and that kind of
Just my notes, just all kind of crazy stuff. I had like Tupac Shakur's, like, you know, collected works, and I didn't have any Bibles in there. I had all kind of stuff that I knew the guys would like, but they didn't know that. They never got to know me because they saw that bag. Just like if they see a collar sometimes, these people wouldn't be collared up. These people would look like the people that are in that space, and would talk like the people that are in that space, and behave in some ways, in ways that are recognizable like the people in that space. And so that makes a whole different kind of thing. But if you come with the disconnect of, I'm here to, you know, tell me your problems, yeah, it's not going to work. But that's why these would be very specialized, highly trained, highly skilled people that would know how to make the connections with people. But as soon as go ahead, sorry.
I just want to say that
Ashley,
obviously we're all here because of love. And I spent so much time because my family is Jewish and I practice Buddhism and I'm an ex-Catholic. I mean, I'm all mixed up in all that. And I beg Barbara still whatever makes me feel good for the day. But Olam Chesed Yevane, we will build this world on love. It is not a religious thing. It's a human thing. And we need to rehumanize these environments. I have worked in corporate America and it was absolutely miserable. It was soul stealing. Yeah, I had to do it because I needed money. And I don't want to work like that again. This is why I want to do this kind of work, because I used to take this personality into it. And I knew there were a lot of wounds that needed to heal, but we need to heal people, then the institutions. And I've been really involved in trying to undo whiteness, which is insurmountable alone. But I've worked a lot with Angel Cotto Williams, and she's just talking about radical dharma as loving people. But you have to listen. And it can be top down. And we know how to work from the bottom. This is who we are as people. We're called to this work. And we have a gift. And we have to assert I don't know, the dominant paradigm or whatever, but we gotta stop making it church and state. I mean, yeah, I don't want, I want that separated in public politics, but I'm not gonna ever be able to work for a corporation and not bring compassion, loving kindness into what I do. And it's already there, and it just can't be the dirty secret or the dirty word. We have to blow it open, and I love the St. Paul Cares. I really do. I really love that.
Yeah, better marketing person would come up with it, but I hear you. I mean, my heart's right there. Yeah, somebody, we have, Ashley, you want to get in there? Go ahead.
You've heard from me, but my job
No.
is to give you the 10-minute warning.
Okay, 10-minute warning?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I also just wanted to, I wonder if you have the capital on there?
I can't hear you.
The capital on that list.
Oh, the capital, we have them, right
Yes.
there.
And also reproductive health care clinics.
Karen, I'm wondering about the mayor's office in St. Paul too. Melvin Carter seems to be a pretty open.
You work with the mayor's office?
I do not work
Oh.
with the mayor's
Okay.
office, but Melvin Carter's father
Yeah.
was on the city council.
Oh, yeah, his
Seems to
mother
be a
is-
very community-oriented person, so he seems like he tries to be different.
Well, that's one reason. He's on my list. I mean, when I get to go ahead to go with this, I want to meet with everybody. But I'm already starting to, like Rolf with the city house and other places, there are a lot of people that are kind of interested in this idea. So what I want to do is create an organization of people in all different places that are just want to think about this. We're not writing any grants. We just want to think. And this is the beginning of the thinking. Now the next level thinking of this is about the particulars of certain kinds of places, the particulars of the training that the people would need, the particular models that we would use from other places in the world that are doing interesting things, barreling down deep into what this would actually look like logistically, spiritually, ethically, morally, politically, socially, economically. We'd have to look through that, all of those lenses to put this together in what I see as about a 30-page document. I've already outlined some of it already, but a document that presents this idea in some great coherence. But I do think $5 million would get us going for 5 years, and we create jobs. Good paying jobs for chaplains, because there aren't any jobs for these students coming out of school. And I'm the only one, I've been saying it openly. I work at a seminary where we're telling people, yeah, come be a chaplain. But where are the jobs? We have to create them. If we don't create them as a seminary that's training chaplains, where are they going to get them? We need to step out in faith and do this.
As I'm thinking about this, I would like to be able to raise my hand and write you a $5 million check, but
We gotta get a basketball player. That's what I got.
yeah,
That's what I want to know.
But as I'm looking at the foundation of CPE program, so obviously there is that resource. You're certified to be a CPE, so that program could get the endorsement and affiliation. So as we're looking at this, that means that we're looking at people who are really trained in clinical pastoral education, and which is a whole different thing from being trained on some of the other ways that people want to be. So do we look at just having seminary training, because not everybody wants to go to seminary and an MDiv, and then how do they get board certified, because the BCCI and the other groups have their own.
Here's what I think. I think we certify them ourselves at United. And I'm certified up to Yahoo. I have every certification I could possibly get. But what I've learned in all those processes, and also sitting on certification committees, that somebody with a master's degree in social work, a licensed social worker, is also very, very capable of doing some of this work, provided they have the translation. There's a translation between social work and chaplain. We work very closely together in hospitals. I've worked like this with social workers for years, and there's a mix. There's some training that they need in spirituality that they would have to get layered on. But there would be a deficit there, but there'd be a plus there. Somebody with a master's degree in psychosocial counseling, a lot of those people would be very, very good. So there's a lot of potential, and that's what we would do. But the Hutt Association of Professional Chaplains, they're locked into their model, and they're very patriarchal white model of what a chaplain is. Now, I'm certified by him, yes I am. But there's got to be other places, and there's got to be other models. So let's look at some other models. And there are models in Europe about this. So I guess I have to stop. Thank you for having me. And if any of you are interested in this idea, I'm going to leave my card to send me an email and tell me you're interested in continuing to think. If you just want to think. Because that's what we need to make this happen. We all got to keep thinking together. And if you have an idea, you want to just shoot me an email and say, hey, what about this? Or what about that? Or just drove by this place. I think they could use something like this. Or I met this person and they're doing this cool thing. Please let me know, because I believe that we can do something really special here in Minnesota because it's such a manageable size city and town. So, thank you.